Hello Year 12. This video is going to explain your next assessment task for English, which will assess Module C. Okay, so as you can see on your gold sheet, there's a fair bit involved in this task. It's broken into two components, Part A and Part B. Part A will require you to write either imaginative, discursively or persuasively, and Part B requires you to write a reflection statement. Can you also note right up front that we're giving this equal weighting, so 10 marks each. We've done that deliberately because we want you to give due attention to that reflection statement, and it should be part of your thinking process right from the very beginning. You'll see the outcomes there at the bottom of the page, so your ability to compose a piece of imaginative writing and your ability to reflect on your learning. You'll also note that it's split over two submission points. So the first one, where you get to write your imaginative, discursive or persuasive, you can do at home, over time, polish, and you're going to hand in via Turnitin, like you did for your podcast transcript. And that will be due by 4 p.m. on the 7th of March. Part B, however, won't take place till the next day. So the idea is that you've gone home, you can reflect on what you've submitted, and then the next day you'll come in during period 4. So you'll have your normal classes throughout the day, but instead of leaving at lunchtime, you stay behind for period 4 and it will start at 2 o'clock. I'll go into more detail about that later. Okay, so let's first start by talking about Part A. You're given a stimulus statement. It says, a writer can fit a whole world inside a book. Now, a stimulus statement should stimulate your ideas. So it should be a source of inspiration. Because you've got weeks and weeks to work on this, you can research, you can look things up. We want you to have a lot of autonomy and choice in this. So however you want to go about attacking that stimulus and unpacking it, it's up to you. We want you to find something that you're passionate about, something that you actually care about, that you can write about then with confidence. And we're giving you choice in what form. So you can write imaginatively, like a narrative, discursive or persuasive. How you go about doing that, best to talk to your teachers. You might want to write an epistolary piece like Dear Mrs. Dunkley, or do something satirical or write a speech. It's up to you, as long as it's dealing with that stimulus. You'll notice that we're also saying 650 words. For a lot of you, that will be a challenge. We want to see that you're thoughtful about your language choices. So there's no fluffing about. You have to be very deliberate and really learn brevity, being brief, having small amount of words but a big impact. And you should be influenced by what you're studying in English. So you've been reading these great authors in your Module C unit. Think about what devices they've used and be inspired by them. Now, I've made a note here about using the provided scaffold. I'll come back to that on my next slide. But you'll see there, otherwise it's all pretty straightforward. So you'll go through Turnitin. We'll check for plagiarism. You should also check for plagiarism before submitting it. 12-point font, basic Word document. Remembering that technology failure is not a cause for misadventure or appeal. So you've got to be really organised, saving your work and leaving yourself plenty of time to upload before the deadline. Okay, this is what we mean by the scaffold. So we want you to use this framework and answer all those boxes. So first of all, student number, not your name, student number and your number only. We want you to describe your form. So are you writing a piece of imaginative writing, or are you doing a satirical speech in the persuasive form? Okay. Tell me the title. That's really important. We want every single one of you to give a title to your piece of writing. Like if you were a published author, it has a title. Tell me the word count, and then you'll basically just copy and paste your response where it says part 1. Obviously the page will drop down because it'll fit on 2 pages, but we want it in this format. Okay, so how will it be marked? Now you'll see that we're basically assessing 3 key skills, the 3 dot points. The first one is how well you can compose a sustained and effective piece of writing that draws on the stimulus. Now, what we mean by sustained is not super long because you've only got 650 words, but the idea that the style, the tone, all of those things that you've built get sustained throughout the 650 words. Effective in engaging us, and that's what I've put in brackets there. So what we're really looking for is engagement and how well you've used the stimulus. So when we talk about engagement, you are writing for an audience. So how well are you able to interest your readers? Get us hooked, get us interested, keep us interested. And at NESA, there's a lot of talk in the Marking Centre about the stimulus because it's the one thing that's common. So it is a discerning factor, how cleverly, how skillfully you can use that stimulus to support your ideas and write an interesting piece. Okay, the second outcome is about crafting. Now, the whole unit is called Craft of Writing. So you've been looking at really well crafted pieces. If you think about like Lukashenko's piece in the temporal shifts, it's very well crafted. It's not just written down on a page, but actually thoughtfully composed. We want to see you doing that, being inspired by good writers and finding your own style. So we want to see how effectively you can craft your language for the form that you've chosen. And lastly, in English, the way it always is, how well you can control your command of language. So how well you express yourself. You can articulate your ideas. You'll notice that the 3 skills don't change, just the descriptors will change as we move down the bands. Okay, talking about part B, there might be a few more questions in this section, so we'll go through it carefully. On the Friday, so you've already submitted part A on the Thursday afternoon, normal classes in the morning, and then instead of going home, period 4, you will either be in the gym or upstairs on level 4. We'll give you a schedule of where you're going to go. You will sit what we're calling an unseen reflection task. But of course, you know exactly what we're asking of you. We are asking you to write your reflection. You just won't know the exact wording of the question. So you will need to take time to read it and think about it. So you'll basically be justifying why you've made those decisions and those choices. So if you are writing, let's for instance say in the epistolary form, like a letter, like Dear Mrs. Dunkley, why? Why did you make those decisions as an author? Now, because you're reflecting on part A, we're going to allow you to bring that in with you. But it is your responsibility, Year 12, to print off your copy of part A, the exact same thing that you loaded for Turn It In. The teachers will quickly look through them when you come in the door. You can have that on your desk in front of you. So at any point you can refer back to it. Self-quote, look back at that example motif and address it in your reflection statement. Now, in terms of timing, we're actually going to give you 5 minutes planning time. So you'll have a planning sheet in front of you with the question, and you can annotate the question, unpack it, and plan out, well, okay, with that question in mind, what key things, probably more macro than micro, should I really address? Will I look at the temporal shifts? Will I address my very specific characterization? And then you'll have 20 minutes. 20 minutes to write your reflection statement in like a writing booklet. That's not a long time, so you will need to manage that time very carefully, and I urge you all to practice doing it at home first. Now, about drafts, we're very happy as always to receive drafts. Your individual teachers will talk to you about how that's submitted, but we will have a deadline, and that's the 22nd of Feb. So we've got time to give it due consideration and get it back to you, so you've got time to make change. Okay, so you'll see on the board 3 key skills that we're looking at or assessing in the reflection. Firstly, how well you've thoughtfully justified the choices that you've made. So can you show us in the reflection that those decisions you made in part A were thoughtful? Why you decided to write in, a third person voice or a first person voice? Why did you have a confessional tone? Or what choices you made, but why? Why did you make them? I also am looking for conventions of form. Do you understand the persuasive form if you've picked that form, for instance? And lastly, as always, the control of your language. So we're still looking for you to have effective control of your articulation of ideas, your syntax, your paragraphing, all those things. Okay, so if you have any questions, please first talk to your classroom teacher. This is a formal assessment, so all things about illness misadventure still apply. Those questions can come directly to me or your deputy. And lastly, I want to leave you with please work hard, good luck, but also have fun. We want this to be your opportunity to develop your voice as a writer. Pick something that you care about, write about something that you care about, do your research, and hopefully have fun with this. Thanks, Year 12.